In an unprecedented escalation of the ongoing trade conflict between the United States and China, recent developments have highlighted the complexities of diplomatic negotiations and the implications for both nations. As tensions rise, President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping find themselves engaged in a high-stakes game of tariffs, with each side imposing record levies on the other's goods. This situation is further complicated by internal political dynamics within China, as experts suggest that Xi is effectively boxed in by the structure of his own government. Gordon Chang, a senior fellow at the Gatestone Institute, discussed the intricacies of Xi's position during an interview with Fox Business. He emphasized that Xi's political environment limits his options, stating, "Picking up the phone and calling President Trump would be the economically rational thing to do, but Xi Jinping has configured the Chinese political system so that only the most hostile answers are considered to be acceptable." This perspective sheds light on the challenges Xi faces in managing the trade war without facing backlash from his fellow Communist Party leaders. At the heart of the tariff dispute is the stark imbalance in trade between the two countries. As Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent pointed out, China's exports to the U.S. far exceed American exports to China, making the Asian nation particularly vulnerable to the escalating tariffs. Following Trump's imposition of a staggering 125% tariff on Chinese imports, China responded by raising its tariffs from 34% to 84%. This retaliatory move has been characterized by analysts as a loser strategy, given China's significant reliance on exports. The economic implications of this tariff war are profound, with both nations facing potential downturns. The point here is that the Chinese think we can intimidate Trump, we can coerce him into surrendering preemptively, Chang noted, adding that the reality is quite the opposite. While the U.S. holds a stronger position in this negotiation, the effects on global markets and trade relationships could be far-reaching and detrimental. As the situation unfolds, both countries have indicated a willingness to engage in dialogue. China's Commerce Ministry has called for the U.S. to meet halfway to resolve differences, emphasizing the need for mutual respect and cooperation. Meanwhile, Trump remains optimistic about reaching a very good deal with Xi, praising his counterpart as one of the smartest people in the world and expressing confidence that negotiations could ultimately bear fruit. However, the rhetoric surrounding the trade confrontation suggests that both leaders are preparing for a prolonged standoff. While Trump has indicated that he may not need to impose further tariffs, he has also underscored the importance of maintaining pressure on Beijing. In contrast, Chinese state media has dismissed U.S. tactics as tariff bullying, asserting that the nation possesses the resilience to withstand economic pressures. In light of these developments, the global economic landscape remains uncertain. As markets react to the shifting dynamics, the potential for further escalation in tariffs looms large. With both leaders entrenched in their positions, the prospect of a resolution may hinge on their ability to navigate the intricate web of domestic and international pressures. As this trade war continues to unfold, the world watches closely, anticipating the next moves in what has become a defining conflict of our times. The outcome of these negotiations could reshape not only U.S.-China relations but also the broader economic order, prompting questions about trade practices, supply chains, and geopolitical alliances in the years to come. In the complex landscape of global politics, few figures have emerged as prominently as Xi Jinping, the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party and President of the People's Republic of China. With a tenure marked by significant political maneuvers and an ambitious agenda, Xi's leadership style has garnered both admiration and criticism. Recently, Gordon Chang, a prominent analyst and commentator, suggested that Xi has boxed himself in with the current configuration of China's political system, raising questions about the sustainability of his power amid growing domestic and international challenges. Since taking office in 2012, Xi has pursued an agenda that emphasizes national rejuvenation, asserting China's place on the global stage through initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative. This ambitious infrastructure project aims to enhance connectivity and cooperation between China and various countries, positioning it as a central player in global trade and investment. However, the very strategies that have bolstered Xi's power may also hinder his administration's flexibility in adapting to shifting geopolitical dynamics. With estimates of his net worth hovering around $1 billion, Xi's financial standing is often scrutinized in the context of his family's wealth, which has attracted controversy over the years. A Bloomberg investigation in 2012 brought to light the substantial assets controlled by Xi's extended family, raising questions about the intersection of wealth and political influence in China. Despite the lack of direct evidence linking Xi to these assets, analysts suggest that the financial gains of his family are likely tied to his political stature. This juxtaposition of a public anti-corruption campaign alongside personal wealth has sparked debate about the integrity of Xi's governance and the implications for his leadership. Historically, Xi's educational background adds layers to his leadership narrative. Born into a politically connected family, he faced adversity during the Cultural Revolution, which deeply shaped his character and views. His subsequent educational journey at Tsinghua University, where he earned a doctorate in law, equipped him with both academic credentials and insights into China's socio-economic fabric. Critics, however, question the legitimacy of his academic achievements, suggesting they may have been facilitated by his political connections rather than scholarly merit. As Xi's presidency has progressed, his consolidation of power has been evident through significant policy changes, including the abolition of presidential term limits in 2018. This move has led to concerns about authoritarianism as Xi's administration tightens control over civil liberties, media, and dissenting voices. The implementation of mass surveillance and strict censorship measures reflects a leadership style that prioritizes stability and control, though at the cost of individual freedoms. While supporters argue that these measures are necessary for national security and economic growth, detractors view them as a regression toward oppressive governance. The effects of Xi's policies extend beyond China's borders, particularly in light of the ongoing trade tensions with the United States. A resurfaced video of Xi's speech from 2018, which gained traction amid recent escalations in trade disputes, emphasizes his rhetoric on resilience and the importance of dialogue. In this address, Xi characterizes China's economy as an ocean, capable of weathering storms without succumbing to temporary upheavals. This metaphor resonates as the current trade war intensifies, with the U.S. imposing significant tariffs on Chinese imports, prompting retaliatory measures from Beijing. The dynamics of Sino-American relations have been further complicated by Xi's assertive foreign policy, which includes military actions in the South China Sea and a heavy hand in Hong Kong and Xinjiang. Such maneuvers signal a departure from the more cautious approach taken by previous leaders, propelling China into a more confrontational stance on the global stage. Analysts suggest that Xi's ambitious vision for China may be at odds with the external pressures he faces, creating a precarious balancing act between domestic expectations and international responsibilities. As the world watches these developments unfold, the question remains: can Xi navigate the complexities of both his political ambitions and the growing scrutiny of his leadership? The future trajectory of China under Xi Jinping will likely depend on his ability to adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining the tight grip on power that has characterized his rule. In this evolving political landscape, the implications for global stability and international relations are profound, and the coming years will be critical in determining Xi's legacy and China's role on the world stage. The escalating trade conflict between the United States and China has reached a critical juncture, with experts warning that a significant split between the two superpowers could spell disaster for the global economy. The once cooperative trade relationship, which has been cultivated over several decades, is now under severe strain, jeopardizing the economic stability of both nations and their trading partners. Recent developments have seen a dizzying escalation of tariffs, with President Trump implementing a staggering 145% levy on many Chinese imports, a stark increase from the tariffs introduced during his first term. This latest round of trade hostilities has unfolded rapidly, contrasting sharply with the prolonged negotiations and incremental escalations seen in previous years. In response, China has retaliated with an 84% tariff on U.S. goods, demonstrating its unwillingness to back down and signaling a potential long-term confrontation. Orville Schell, the Arthur Ross director of the Center on U.S.-China Relations, described the situation as approaching a monumental train wreck breakup, emphasizing the profound consequences of this unraveling relationship. Historically, the U.S. benefited from low prices on consumer goods sourced from China, while China gained substantial investment in jobs. However, China's emergence as a formidable global power has led to increasing U.S. concerns over its dependence on Chinese-made components, particularly in high-tech industries. The stakes of this trade war extend beyond mere tariffs. The potential for economic recession looms large on both sides. Economists are now predicting that the U.S. economy could be pushed into recession, with the ongoing trade dispute exacerbating inflation, increasing unemployment, and hindering growth. The Chinese economy, already grappling with a property market collapse and declining consumer confidence, faces a painful disconnection from its largest trading partner, which imports over $400 billion worth of goods annually. The trade tensions have raised critical questions about the future of international trade dynamics. As Stephen Okun, CEO of APAC Advisors, remarked, "You can't model this. Are countries going to have to choose between the US and China?" The implications of a fragmented global trade landscape could have significant ramifications for countries worldwide, forcing them to navigate a complex web of competing interests. As the conflict escalates, China is poised to leverage its dominance in critical minerals, including rare earth elements essential for U.S. defense systems and consumer technology. Analysts warn that if Beijing chooses to restrict these exports or dump U.S. treasuries, it could severely disrupt U.S. military readiness and elevate borrowing costs for the federal government. Mark Smith, CEO of Neocorp, highlighted the importance of rare earth minerals in American military equipment, noting that a halt in exports would have immediate and dire consequences. In the face of these turbulent developments, President Trump has expressed optimism about the possibility of reaching a deal with China, citing the complexities inherent in diplomatic negotiations. However, analysts like Nazak Nakakhtar, a former Commerce Department official, caution that Xi Jinping is now more economically empowered than ever and may be willing to endure internal economic pain to inflict damage on the U.S. For small businesses, the repercussions of this trade war are particularly acute. Companies reliant on the cross-border flow of goods are facing existential threats as tariffs escalate. John K. Thomas, who manufactures electronic thermometers for agricultural use, described how the abrupt changes in tariffs have jeopardized his business, highlighting the fragile nature of international trade and the direct impact on livelihoods. As the U.S.-China trade war continues to unfold, the global economy holds its breath, caught in the crossfire of tit-for-tat tariffs and geopolitical maneuvering. The future remains uncertain, with analysts predicting further escalation and potential long-term consequences that could redefine economic relationships worldwide. The outcome of this contentious trade war could set the stage for a new era in international relations, where economic interdependence gives way to strategic rivalry, reshaping the global economic landscape for years to come. As tensions rise in the Indo-Pacific region, recent developments underscore the growing complexity of international relations, particularly between the United States and China. With China's military buildup escalating and its trade strategies becoming increasingly aggressive, concerns over regional security and economic stability are mounting. This precarious landscape is further complicated by diplomatic engagements, highlighting the need for robust communication channels amid potential conflict. Recent statements from the U.S. Department of Defense have painted a stark picture of China's military ambitions. John No, the acting Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, testified before Congress that China is preparing for a possible invasion of Taiwan by 2027. China is undertaking an unprecedented military buildup, developing a large and advanced arsenal of nuclear, conventional, cyber, and space capabilities, he warned. This assertion was reinforced by Admiral Samuel Papero, commander of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, who described China's military maneuvers near Taiwan as rehearsals for a real invasion.
The PLA's activities around Taiwan surged by 300% in 2024, reflecting a serious escalation in military readiness.
The warning comes as China continues to exert its influence over critical resources. Experts believe that Chinese President Xi Jinping may leverage rare earth mineral exports as a weapon in the ongoing trade war with the U.S. A halt in these exports could compromise vital technologies used in military applications such as missiles and fighter jets, impacting U.S. defense capabilities.
Mark Smith, CEO of Neo Corp,
highlighted the immediate consequences of such a ban, stating, "If China stops exporting rare earths, the effect on U.S. military readiness would be immediate."
Furthermore, China's significant holdings of U.S. debt present another potential leverage point, with a mass sell-off capable of destabilizing American financial markets. In an effort to navigate the evolving geopolitical landscape, the United Kingdom's military leadership is also recalibrating its approach. Admiral Sir Tony Radakin's recent visit to China, the first by a British Chief of Defence in a decade, aimed to strengthen military communications between the two nations. The discussions included challenges posed by the trade war and the necessity of maintaining open lines of communication in an unstable world. Radakin emphasized the importance of military cooperation, particularly in light of growing global tensions. However, the relationship between the UK and China has soured significantly since 2015. Marked by security concerns surrounding technology and accusations of Chinese support for Russia in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. The UK's ban on Huawei from its 5G networks exemplifies the scrutiny now placed on Chinese technology and investments. As regional dynamics shift, Taiwan is taking proactive measures to enhance its defense capabilities. President Lai Ching-te has ordered an increase in military readiness, advocating for asymmetric warfare strategies as a means to deter potential aggression from Beijing. Taiwan's close ties with the U.S. remain crucial as the island heavily relies on American arms sales for its defense. The Taiwan Relations Act binds the U.S. to respond to any forceful attempts to change Taiwan's status, underscoring the strategic importance of the island in U.S. foreign policy. Looking ahead, the unfolding events in the Indo-Pacific will likely continue to shape the global balance of power. With China's military aspirations and economic leverage on the rise and the U.S. and its allies reassessing their strategies, the coming years will be critical in determining the region's stability. As both sides navigate these challenges, the need for diplomatic engagement and military preparedness has never been more pressing, signaling a period of heightened vigilance in international relations. As the geopolitical landscape shifts dramatically, Chinese President Xi Jinping is set to embark on a pivotal week-long tour of Southeast Asia commencing on April 14, 2025. This visit comes at a time of escalating tensions between the U.S. and China, particularly following the latest round of tariff increases that have left many analysts questioning the future of international trade relations. With the U.S. imposing tariffs of up to 125% on Chinese goods, the diplomatic vacuum created by this conflict has opened new avenues for Xi to strengthen China's influence in the region. The details of Xi's itinerary have been released in fragments, with Chinese officials maintaining a level of secrecy typical of state visits. The tour will encompass three nations, highlighting China's strategic interest in Southeast Asia as it seeks to bolster economic ties and political alliances amid a backdrop of U.S. tariff chaos. Observers note that Xi's visit could serve to reinforce partnerships that may counterbalance U.S. efforts to isolate China economically. The ongoing trade war has transformed into what experts are calling a strategic battle, with both sides appearing entrenched in their positions. Following a series of tit-for-tat tariff hikes, the recent increase by the U.S. has prompted a firm response from Chinese officials, who have reiterated their readiness to engage in negotiations, albeit under terms they deem fair and respectful. Zhao Mingho, a deputy director at the Center for American Studies at Fudan University, emphasized that the current conflict is more about strategic resolve than the tariffs themselves, indicating that China is prepared to endure significant economic strain in pursuit of its goals.
Amid this landscape, the diplomatic openings created by U.S. tariff policies may provide an invaluable opportunity for Xi to solidify alliances in Southeast Asia. As the U.S. grapples with internal political challenges, including the recent return of former President Donald Trump to the White House, the diplomatic narrative is shifting. Trump has expressed willingness to engage in talks with Xi, suggesting that he believes negotiations could lead to a resolution of the trade conflict. However, analysts remain skeptical, noting that the Chinese leadership has signaled it will not back down easily, which could prolong the stalemate. In a broader context, Xi's tour may also be interpreted as a response to regional concerns regarding China's growing assertiveness. Japan recently released its Diplomatic Blue Book for 2025, explicitly highlighting the security threats posed by China, indicating that regional powers are increasingly wary of Beijing's ambitions. This further complicates the geopolitical chessboard as China attempts to navigate a path through rising tensions with its neighbors while simultaneously strengthening its ties in Southeast Asia. As Xi's Southeast Asia tour approaches, the implications of the U.S.-China tariff war and the evolving diplomatic landscape will likely play a crucial role in shaping the future of international relations in the region. Observers will be closely monitoring how Xi leverages this opportunity to enhance China's stature while managing the delicate balance of regional security concerns. The outcomes of these engagements could have lasting effects not only on U.S.-China relations but also on the dynamics of power in Southeast Asia as a whole. In conclusion, as the world watches the unfolding events, the intersection of trade diplomacy and regional security will undoubtedly influence the trajectory of global relations in the coming months. The actions taken during Xi's tour may signal a new phase in China's approach to its neighbors. While the U.S. navigates its turbulent political landscape and seeks to reassert its influence in the region, the stakes have never been higher, and the choices made by both superpowers will shape the geopolitical order for years to come.